In today's video, we're going to look at section 6-2, solving inequalities by multiplication and division. So again, I'm going to keep asking, do rules change in math? And obviously, we all know the answer because I've said this 100 times. No, they don't. Okay, we keep following, but being that we're introducing new things, we need to add new things. All right, so again, I'm not going to read these out, but first we're going to talk about multiplying by a positive number and multiplying by a negative number. Now, on both division and multiplication, the by a negative number is the more important one. So remember, always the golden rule of algebra, what you do to one side, you do to the other. Now, the big thing is, when we multiply by a negative number, if we multiply by a negative number, because the word negative means opposite, that means that the inequality itself is going to flip directions. So notice that last statement, if A is greater than B, then AC is less than BC, and if AB is less than B, then AC is greater than BC. That's if C is a negative number, okay? So the symbol switches when you multiply or divide, okay, by a negative number. Now, same thing holds true when you divide on one side, you gotta do it to the other side. So again, same thing. If A is greater than B, then A divided by C is less than B divided by C, and if A is less than B, then A divided by C is greater than B divided by C. That's when a C is a negative number, okay? So we have to remember that when we divide by a positive or a negative number, we have to flip the inequality. All right, so let's do some examples. So 14h divided by 91. Or 14h is greater than 91, that's my fault. So I'm going to divide by 14 on both sides. So I get h is greater than. And this comes out to, we can simplify down to 13 over 2. Just do a little reduction, divided by 7 on both sides. All right, now we need our symbol. Now notice I divided by a positive number, so I don't flip the symbol. So we get our arbitrary 0, and we get 13 over 2. We have an open circle, and the variable's on the left, so we go to we follow the arrow. Okay. So negative 5t is greater than or equal to 275. So once again, I'm going to follow my same rules. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to divide by negative 5 on both sides. But now I have divided by a negative number, because if you read that, 275 divided by negative 5. So it's going to become t is less than or equal to negative 55. So we get our inequality. So a symbol switch. So I got my arbitrary 0, negative 55. It's a greater than or equal to, so it's a solid circle. The variable's on the left, so I follow the arrow, or follow the inequality. So there we go. All right, so now I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 2 over 5p is less than negative 14. So now remembering back, to get rid of the multiplication of a fraction, we can multiply by its reciprocal, and its reciprocal is negative 5 over 2. And notice I am multiplying by a negative number, negative 5 over 2. So the fractions cancel out. So we're just going to do a little reduction here. This becomes 7. This becomes 1. Double negative equals positive. So I get p is greater than, because I multiplied by a negative. P is greater than 35. So get our number line. So 0, 35. We got an open circle. Variables on the left, so I follow the inequality. And there we go. We are done. Okay. Now, negative n over 6 is less than or equal to 8. So I'm going to multiply by negative 6. And now I'm multiplying by a negative number. That's important. So that means my inequality flips. So I get negative 48. 8 times negative 6 is 48. Negative 48. So I get my number line. Arbitrary 0, negative 48, closed circle because it's or equal to, variables on the left, so I follow the inequality. And there we go. Negative 4/3 p is greater than negative 10. So I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. So I'll multiply by negative 3/4. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. Variables cancel out, or the fractions cancel out. Double negative goes positive. We'll do a little reduction here. This goes to 5. This goes to 2. So I'm left with p is, now I need to flip, is greater than 15, or excuse me, less than 15/2. Draw our number line. Got my arbitrary 0, 15/2. Notice I'm leaving in fraction to make it easy on myself. I don't really need to know exactly what it is off the top of my head. I can just work with it. So it's an open circle, and it's follow the arrow. And there we go. Okay, now let's do some quick ones. So very simple, but let's practice, okay? And see if you can do this before I do. All right, so 9r is less than 27. Divide by 9 on both sides. So yeah, r is less than 3. It stays the same because I divided by a positive number. 0, 3, open circle to the left. Okay. Negative 15 is greater than or equal to 3t. So divide by 3, divide by 3. I divide by a positive, so it stays the same. Negative 5 is less than or greater than or equal to t. So the variable is on the right, so I got to pay attention. So I got 0, negative 5. Okay. Closed circle. And that variable's on the right, so I go opposite the inequality. So we're going to the left on that one. Okay, I'm going to change colors up. I'm going to go orange here. Okay, so 32 is less than negative 8k. So divide by negative 8 on both sides. So I divide by negative, so my symbol switches. Okay, so I get negative 4 is greater than k. So here we go. So arbitrary 0, negative 4. It's going to be an open circle, and variables on the right, so I go opposite of what's there. So I go to the left. All right, last one on the page. Divide by negative 5. Oh, divide by a negative, so I flip my inequality, so g is less than or equal to negative 8. So I got my arbitrary 0, and I got negative 8. I'm going to have a closed circle because it's or equal to, and then variables on the left, so I follow the inequality. All right, so hopefully you got those. If not, keep practicing. We'll work with it. Okay. Mount Kinabalu in Malaysia has the greatest concentration of wild orchids on Earth. It contains more than 750 species. So more than, okay, which is approximately 1/4 of all orchids in Malaysia. How many orchid species are there in Malaysia? So I'm going to call it X. Orchids in Malaysia. Now we're saying orchid species, but I'm just kind of shorthanding it here. So it's more than 750. Okay. So now we say, now it's 1/4 of. 1/4 of, that word of means multiplication. So 1/4 of all the orchid species in Malaysia, I'm just reading the sentence, is more than 750. All right. So now we just have 1/4 times 750. Now to get rid of 1/4, we multiply by its reciprocal. Okay, multiply by its reciprocal. And to get rid of this reciprocal, we want to multiply by its reciprocal to get rid of itself. We multiply by 4 on both sides. So we get x is greater than 750 times 4. So I get 3,000. Okay. So there are more than 3,000 orchids in Malaysia. Hopefully I spelled species right. Yep. So there we go. So there is our answer.